Hey, good morning. How you doing? This is Max, and I'm out here in the Mojave Desert down here visiting a friend. And in my last video, I spoke about Richard York's article on displacement, his scientific paper on displacement, where he looked at fossil fuels and so-called renewable energies and looked at the rate at which the installation of so-called green energy leads to the replacement or the turning off of fossil fuels. And what he found, as I said in that article, was that the rate isn't very good. It takes, in total energy, it takes 4 times as much green energy to displace 1 unit of fossil fuels, and when it comes to electricity, it's 10 times as much. And one of the responses that I got was from a guy here who said, Brian, who said that this study is outdated, it's inaccurate, that fossil fuel displacement is happening more rapidly at this point. And I took a look at the study he sent over, and as far as I can tell, it looks like he's right, at least in that one instance. He pointed to a specific study looking at a couple grids in China. And so the first problem is that obviously the first York study that I referenced was averaging out about 130 different nations around the world, looking at what's happening on average. So we can't replace that with any data looking at one country and 1 or 2 specific grids and say that replacement is happening. Now the second thing that this Brian said that I thought was very important to respond to was he said, this, even if green energy isn't the solution, even if it's still causing damage, it's still important to install as a time-saving measure, as a stopgap to slow global warming and give people time to address the situation at a more fundamental level. And I think this is a very important point and a huge misconception that people have. One of the other most important studies that I've read recently is in the journal PLOS One, an open source journal, and they in this article they look at major threats to land, major development threats to land, out through something like 2050 or 2100. I'm out here, like I said, so I don't have the paper in front of me to reference, so this is from memory. So excuse me if I get a few details wrong. I'll link it in the video description. But it looks at the biggest threats. And what the article finds is that solar and wind are threatening more land in that time period than mining, agricultural expansion, urbanization, suburban sprawl, and conventional oil and gas development combined. They're talking about something like 5% of the total land mass of the planet that's being threatened by this, by solar and wind energy development. So to me, what that says is fundamentally, you can't save the planet by destroying it. You cannot save the planet by destroying it. And if you think that destroying 5% more of the landmass of the planet to reduce carbon emissions by, who knows? Because like we said, we haven't actually seen that displacement, and emissions have still been going up, even though so-called green energy is skyrocketing. So that's not a bargain that I'm willing to make, and it's not a bargain that I think any of us should be willing to make. So as one of my friends often says, this green energy stuff is more a response to peak oil than anything else. The empire is looking for new energy supplies. It's not about protecting the planet. It's not about stopping global warming. It's about providing energy to the empire.